Chosen one, congratulations. It is done. You will never have to go through that again. Listen closely, because what you are about to receive is not just a change around you, but a shift happening within you. The heaviness that once followed your thoughts is beginning to lift. The tension that lived in your spirit is starting to loosen its grip. This is not a small moment. These are the first signs that the painful cycle you carried for so long is finally ending. And if you ignore what is happening inside you right now, you may overlook the very breakthrough you prayed to experience. I am telling you clearly, the season that drained you, the pain that tested you, the struggle that kept your mind in survival mode has reached its end. It is done, and you're stepping out of it for good. Not temporarily, not emotionally for one day and broken again the next. Completely. This is the turning point where your mind, emotions, and spirit begin to respond differently than before. The constant fear is losing its authority. The confusion is no longer controlling your direction. Even if the change feels quiet at first, it is real. Type Amen to affirm. You have carried something heavy for far too long, and I have watched every step you took under that weight. I have seen the nights when your mind would not rest. I have seen the exhaustion of pretending to be okay, while internally fighting battles no one else could see. I have seen the moments where even small things felt overwhelming, because your spirit had been under pressure for too long. This is why I am speaking now with clarity, because you deserve to recognize the signs that healing has already started inside you. Your endurance was not wasted. Your pain was not ignored. And the version of you that lived trapped inside that cycle is finally being released. Within this moment, there is something important you must not overlook, because it confirms what is changing in your life right now. You are beginning to feel calm in situations that once triggered fear. You are starting to think more clearly where confusion once ruled your mind. You are noticing moments of peace that used to feel impossible to hold on to. These are not random emotions. These are indicators that your inner world is finally leaving survival mode behind. If this message is speaking directly to what you have been feeling, take a second to like this video so more people can recognize these same signs within themselves. What you went through was never meant to destroy you, even though it felt like it might. It was revealing the parts of you that needed healing and strengthening at the deepest level. You were being refined through pressure, taught through exhaustion, and awakened through discomfort even when you did not understand why the process had to be so intense. But now, the process has completed its purpose. The emotional cycle that kept pulling you backward is losing its power. You are not returning to that version of yourself again. The fact that you can already feel certain weights lifting, certain fears weakening, and certain thoughts losing control over you is proof that the shift has already begun. Type 111 if you believe. There will be moments where you notice yourself responding differently to things that once overwhelmed you. Situations that used to drain your energy will no longer affect you the same way. Conversations that once pulled you into anxiety will begin to feel easier to walk away from. This is not emotional numbness. This is what happens when your spirit is no longer trapped in survival mode. You are entering a season where peace will start to feel more natural than chaos, even if part of you is still adjusting to it. At first, this change may feel unfamiliar because you became used to carrying pressure every day. You became used to expecting disappointment, expecting stress, expecting emotional exhaustion. But that constant state of tension is no longer becoming your identity. You may also notice yourself becoming more aware of what drains you. Things you once tolerated will begin to feel heavier. Environments that once felt normal will no longer feel aligned with who you are becoming. This is not you becoming distant. This is your discernment becoming stronger. The cycle is breaking not only around you, but within you. Your mind is no longer agreeing with the patterns that once kept you stuck. Your emotions are no longer attaching themselves to the same fear. And your spirit is beginning to recognize peace as something safe instead of temporary. That is how you know the shift is real. If you have started noticing these changes within yourself, comment, "The cycle is broken," below. Let this be the moment you stop doubting what is already changing inside you. There will be moments where you catch yourself reacting differently before you even realize it. Someone will say something that normally would have ruined your entire day. And instead of carrying it for hours, you will feel yourself letting it go almost immediately. You will walk away confused at first, because the old version of you would have replayed those words over and over in your mind. But now, something inside you is no longer feeding the same emotional patterns. You may notice it late at night when your mind becomes quieter than it used to be. The constant overthinking that once kept you awake for hours will begin losing its grip. Not all at once, but in small, unexpected moments. One night, you will realize you fell asleep without mentally fighting battles that had become part of your routine. That is not random. That is your nervous system recognizing that it no longer has to stay in survival mode. There will also be people who notice the shift before you fully do. Someone who once knew how to trigger you will become uncomfortable because they can no longer pull the same reaction out of you. Certain conversations will start feeling strangely empty because your spirit is no longer emotionally attached to the chaos that once consumed you. You are not becoming cold. You are becoming harder to emotionally manipulate. You will begin feeling exhausted by things you once chased. The need to explain yourself constantly. The need to prove your worth. The need to hold together relationships that only survived through your effort. What once felt necessary will start feeling heavy. And for the first time, walking away will feel more peaceful than holding on. This next part is important, so pay attention. One of the clearest signs that your painful cycle is ending is that peace may start to feel unfamiliar to you. There may be moments where nothing is wrong, yet part of you still expects something bad to happen. You may catch yourself waiting for disappointment, even while life is becoming calmer around you. That does not mean the cycle is continuing. It means your mind is still adjusting to a reality where fear is no longer leading your life. You are learning how to exist without constant emotional pressure. You are learning that calm is not weakness. Silence is not abandonment. Rest is not failure. These realizations may seem small to other people, but they are major signs that something deep inside you is changing permanently. And the strangest part is this: the things that once felt impossible to release may suddenly stop feeling emotionally connected to you at all. Certain memories will lose their emotional sting. Certain fears will stop feeling convincing. Certain attachments will begin fading naturally without you forcing them to disappear. This is how healing often begins. Quietly, gradually, internally. If you have started noticing even one of these signs in your own life, comment, "I feel the shift," below. Because what is happening inside you is not imaginary. The cycle is breaking from the inside out. I am sending reinforcements into your situation. You are not expected to go through this transition alone, for I am activating protection, alignment, and strategies that are already beginning to weaken the strongholds that kept you trapped for so long. The emotional patterns that once controlled your reactions are losing strength. The mental weight that kept convincing you that nothing would ever change is beginning to collapse from the inside out. There are things shifting around you that you cannot fully see yet. Delays that once frustrated you are now preventing you from walking back into environments that would have reopened old wounds. Certain disconnections that felt painful are actually creating distance between you and cycles that were draining your spirit. What looked like rejection in the moment was often protection operating quietly in the background. You are also being given a new level of discernment. Pay attention to what your spirit no longer feels comfortable entertaining. Pay attention to the conversations that suddenly leave you feeling exhausted instead of connected. Pay attention to the moments where your peace begins warning you before your mind fully understands why. These are not random emotional shifts. This is part of the reinforcement being sent into your life. Your awareness is becoming sharper because you are no longer meant to survive through confusion. There will be moments where help appears in unexpected ways. A conversation at the right time. A sudden realization that breaks years of emotional attachment. A sense of calm entering your mind during situations that normally would have sent you into panic. These moments may seem small on the surface, but they are evidence that something greater is supporting your transition out of this painful season. The strongholds that once lived inside your thinking are also being challenged now. The belief that you must always struggle to deserve peace. The belief that you must carry everyone else while neglecting yourself. The belief that pain is the only state your life knows. These patterns are being confronted one by one, because you cannot enter your next season while still emotionally agreeing with the mindset that kept you imprisoned in the last one. And this is important to understand. Not every battle ends with noise. Some strongholds break quietly. Sometimes the greatest victory is realizing that something which used to control your emotions no longer has access to your inner peace. Sometimes healing looks like no longer reacting, no longer chasing, no longer collapsing under pressure that once would have destroyed your entire day. You may still be adjusting to this version of yourself, but the change is already happening. You are becoming emotionally stronger without becoming hardened, spiritually aware without becoming fearful, mentally calmer without needing constant reassurance. This is what happens when a painful cycle begins fully losing its authority over your life. The marching feet of angel warriors are all around you, displacing the chaos and bringing forth a new victory. Even if you cannot see every movement taking place, you're beginning to feel the effects of it within yourself. The heaviness that once greeted you the moment you opened your eyes each morning is starting to lose its grip. The dread that used to sit in your chest before the day even began is no longer holding the same authority over your mind. These are not small changes. These are signs that the atmosphere around your life is shifting. Transition is at hand, and your destiny is being made manifest even through the quiet internal changes you almost overlooked. You may have expected transformation to arrive loudly, suddenly, dramatically. But instead, it is appearing through calmer thoughts, clearer discernment, and a growing inability to emotionally return to the same destructive patterns that once controlled you. The version of you that survived through fear is slowly being replaced by a version of you that no longer depends on fear to stay alert. Refuse to fret, for my strength and courage are already rising up to meet your day before you even open your eyes. There will be mornings where you notice that your first thoughts are no longer panic, no longer exhaustion, no longer emotional survival. And at first, this may feel unfamiliar to you because you became conditioned to wake up carrying invisible pressure before anything had even happened. But now, your spirit is beginning to understand that it is safe to unclench. Pay attention to these moments because they matter more than you realize. The cycle is not only breaking in major events, it is breaking in the way your body responds to stress, in the way your mind recovers faster from disappointment, in the way certain fears no longer dominate your attention for entire days at a time. You are beginning to emotionally recover instead of emotionally drowning. That is one of the clearest indicators that your inner world is leaving a painful season behind. You will also notice a strange shift happening in your reactions to uncertainty. Situations that once would have immediately sent you into overthinking may now be met with unexpected calm. Not because you suddenly have all the answers, but because your spirit no longer believes that every unknown outcome will end in pain. This is healing at a deeper level than appearances. Your mind is slowly releasing its addiction to anticipating disaster. And understand this clearly. The chaos losing access to you may cause certain people to feel disconnected from you. Some individuals were only comfortable with the version of you that was anxious, emotionally available to dysfunction, or constantly doubting yourself. As your peace grows stronger, you may notice yourself pulling away from environments that once felt strangely familiar. This is not you losing yourself. This is you recognizing that survival mode was never your true identity. There are victories happening around you that cannot yet be measured externally. Some victories look like sleeping peacefully for the first time in months. Some victories look like saying no without guilt. Some victories look like no longer needing to explain your worth to people determined to misunderstand you. These quiet breakthroughs are evidence that the transition is already unfolding. You are not becoming who you were before the pain. You are becoming someone wiser, calmer, and more spiritually grounded than you have ever been. The fear that once trained your mind to expect struggle everywhere is losing influence. And in its place, stability is beginning to grow. You have run the race well and have not quit in the face of challenges. Even during the moments when your spirit felt exhausted, when your mind was carrying battles nobody else could fully see, you kept moving forward. There were days you thought you were falling apart, yet somehow you still found the strength to continue. And what you must understand now is this: surviving that season changed something deep within you. You are no longer responding to life from the same wounded place you once were. The enemy whispers that time is running out, but I say you are standing at the beginning of my goodness, not at the end of your rope. The pressure that once convinced you that your best days were behind you is losing its influence over your thinking. You are beginning to notice small but powerful signs that hopelessness no longer feels as convincing as it once did. The fear that used to immediately settle into your chest when things became uncertain is no longer arriving with the same intensity. This is how you know the cycle is breaking internally before it fully changes externally. There was a time when every delay felt personal to you. Every unanswered question felt like proof that nothing would ever improve. Every difficult moment immediately pulled your mind toward discouragement. But now something is changing. You are beginning to pause before assuming the worst. You are beginning to recover emotionally faster after disappointment. You are beginning to realize that temporary setbacks no longer have the power to completely consume your peace for days at a time. These are not random emotional shifts. These are indicators that your spirit is no longer trapped in the same painful cycle of fear and emotional survival. You may also notice that the constant urgency you once lived under is slowly fading. The feeling that you were running out of time, the fear that your life was somehow behind, the pressure to force everything to happen immediately. These thoughts once controlled your decisions because pain taught you to panic whenever things felt uncertain. But now, your spirit is learning something new. Peace does not rush. Healing does not rush. And the life meant for you will not require you to destroy yourself emotionally just to reach it. There will still be moments where old thoughts try to return. Moments where your mind briefly revisits familiar fears. But the difference now is that you no longer fully believe those fears. You no longer sink into them the same way. You recover quicker. You detach faster. What once pulled you into emotional darkness for weeks may now only touch your mind for a moment before peace returns again. That is growth. That is healing. That is evidence that the painful cycle is losing its final grip over your inner world. And understand this carefully. Exhaustion is no longer your identity. Survival is no longer your identity. Constant emotional struggle is no longer your normal state. You are entering a season where stability will begin feeling more natural than chaos, even if part of you is still adjusting to it. There are blessings approaching your life that require a calmer mind, a steadier spirit, and a healed perspective to fully receive them. That is why this internal transformation had to happen first. You are not simply being rescued from pain. You are being prepared to live differently than before. Soon, you will look back and realize the greatest miracle was not only that your circumstances changed, but that your inner world changed with them. The things that once broke you emotionally no longer carry the same power. The fears that once ruled your decisions no longer speak with the same authority. And the peace slowly growing inside you is becoming stronger than the chaos you survived. If you can feel yourself becoming mentally calmer, emotionally lighter, and less controlled by fear than you were before, comment, "I am entering a new season below." What is happening within you is not temporary. It is the evidence that your painful cycle is truly coming to an end. There is no urgency when you are with me. Therefore, take a deep breath and relax. The constant pressure you once lived under is not meant to follow you into this next season. You became so used to surviving under emotional strain that peace started feeling unfamiliar to you. You trained yourself to expect bad news, disappointment, delays, and emotional exhaustion before the day even began. But now, something inside you is slowly beginning to release that tension. You may notice yourself pausing instead of panicking, breathing instead of overreacting, sitting in uncertainty without immediately assuming the worst. These moments may seem small, but they are powerful indicators that your inner world is no longer operating from the same wounded place. The painful cycle that kept your mind trapped in fear is losing its authority over you. There is a reason your spirit has been craving stillness lately. A reason you no longer feel emotionally connected to constant chaos, constant proving, constant rushing. Your soul is recognizing that it was never created to live in survival mode forever. And the calmer you become internally, the clearer you will see how much of your exhaustion came from carrying battles you were never meant to carry alone. I will show up, and you will take back what the enemy stole. But understand this carefully. Some of the first things being restored are invisible. Your peace, your emotional stability, your ability to trust again, your ability to wake up without immediately feeling overwhelmed by life. Before external restoration fully appears, internal restoration begins quietly within you. You are already taking things back in ways you have not fully recognized yet. Every time fear no longer controls your decisions, you're taking your power back. Every time you choose peace instead of emotional chaos, you're taking your mind back. Every time you stop blaming yourself for everything that went wrong in the past, you are reclaiming parts of yourself that pain tried to steal from you. And there is something else happening now that you must pay attention to. Your reactions are changing. Situations that once would have emotionally consumed you for days are beginning to lose their hold faster. Certain people no longer have the same access to your emotions. Certain memories no longer collapse your spirit the way they once did. This is not numbness. This is healing becoming stronger than the wound. My blessing is flowing like a river over your life, bringing a turnaround that will cause you to rejoice. But the turnaround is not only external, it is mental, emotional, spiritual. You are beginning to experience the kind of peace that does not disappear the moment circumstances become uncertain. You are becoming steadier inside, more grounded, more emotionally aware, more difficult to pull back into cycles that once kept you trapped. There will come a moment soon where you realize you are no longer fighting to survive every single day emotionally. And when that realization hits you, you will understand just how much has changed within you. The heaviness you carried for years will no longer feel attached to your identity. The fear that once followed your every decision will no longer sound convincing. The exhaustion that became your normal state will begin fading from your spirit. This is the turnaround you prayed for, even if it arrived differently than you expected. Not through noise, not through instant perfection, but through a quiet restoration that is rebuilding your inner world piece by piece, until peace becomes more natural to you than pain ever was. The version of you that entered this painful season is not the same version of you standing here now. Somewhere between the exhaustion, the waiting, the emotional battles, and the silent healing, something inside you changed. Not loudly, not all at once, but deeply. And one day soon, you are going to realize that the cycle truly ended because the things that once controlled you no longer reach you the same way. The fear no longer sounds convincing. The chaos no longer feels familiar. The pressure to survive every moment emotionally is no longer ruling your mind. You will wake up and notice that peace stayed longer than fear did. You will notice that your mind recovered faster than it used to. You will notice that you are no longer carrying invisible heaviness into every conversation, every decision, every morning. And in that moment, you will understand that healing was happening even when you thought nothing was changing. This is not temporary strength. This is transformation. This is what happens when a painful life cycle permanently loses its hold over your spirit. You are not going backwards again. You are not returning to the version of yourself that constantly doubted, constantly feared, constantly carried emotional exhaustion alone. That chapter has completed its purpose. And even if memories return from time to time, they will no longer have the authority to define your future. What is ahead of you now is not built on survival. It is built on peace, clarity, stability, discernment, emotional freedom. And the more this new season unfolds, the more you will realize that the greatest miracle was not only what changed around you, but what changed within you. So take a deep breath. Release the pressure. Stop bracing for disaster. Stop expecting the old pain to return every time life becomes quiet. You are no longer living inside that cycle. It is done. If this message spoke directly to your spirit, comment, "It is done." Below is your declaration that the painful cycle is finally broken. And if you are ready to continue walking into this new season of peace, clarity, and restoration, subscribe and stay connected to this channel.